All right, Chapter 5, Introduction, and we are talking about the decline of feudalism. And this is Section 1. So you see the main ideas are highlighted here, and we're going to be talking about key events that led to the decline of feudalism, the idea that we just learned about. And we're in the 12th through the 15th centuries, so this is about the year 1100 to the 1400s. And there were many causes. We're going to focus on three. Political changes, so changes with how people are ruled or run. Terrible disease that we're going to learn about called the Black Death or the Black Plague. And then a long series of wars or battles. So you can imagine that these three things would greatly decline or break down or create some changes in history during this time. So we're in England, and England is very, very powerful at this time. And there was some changes in the 12th and 13th century that helped weaken feudalism. And we're going to first take a look at this really famous document called the Magna Carta. And it was also called the Great Charter. And a charter is an agreement or a type of contract. And the Magna Carta is a legal agreement that took away some of the king's power and strengthened the rights of the nobles. And we're going to see noble means important. They are kind of higher ups just below the king. There are more than them, obviously, than the king. And this was something that, a big event that helped the decline of feudalism. And the Magna Carta took on big ideas about what individual rights were. And it gave people the idea or the notion that we should have more individual rights. The terrible disease, bubonic plague or the Black Death, came across Asia first in the 1300s and then reached Europe about 40 years later, 1340s. In the next 2 centuries, this disease killed millions. This disease actually is still around today, but we're going to talk about why it's not as deadly as it was back then. But this disease didn't care if you were rich or poor, young or old, where you lived, and everyone who got it almost died within days. And places and communities were wiped out, so you could tell that this would lead to really, really big economic and social changes. So changes in jobs and money and how societies run. And then lastly, between about 1330 and 1450, France and England had a series of war known as the 100 Years' War. And these wars or conflicts changed the way wars were fought and shifted power away from these feudal lords to monarchs and the common people. So we're going to see how, you don't know what feudal lords are right this second, but we're going to see who they are and how the power shifted from one person to the other and how these three events helped the decline of feudalism.